Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Nabeel Hussain.
Okay.
Um, he is a 24-year-old entrepreneur
Wow.
in India and already kind of shaking things up in the world of finance.
24 years old.
Yep, pretty
Yes.
impressive, right?
Yeah.
And all of this is coming from a podcast interview that we listened to with him. And it's really fascinating to
Sure.
kind of get inside the head of someone who's not afraid to challenge the system.
Absolutely. And what I think is so interesting about Nabeel's story is it's not just about making a ton of money or, being this
Right.
financial success story.
Yeah.
It's really about how these new innovative strategies
Yeah.
are kind of butting up against the old way of doing things.
Right. And you can kind of see that right from the get-go. Like, this is
Yeah.
a guy who started
Yeah.
selling snacks in college,
Yeah.
just to make some extra cash.
Yeah.
And then, like, boom, he launches a whole travel company at 17.
I mean, that's incredible.
Talk about, hitting the ground running.
Right. Like
Yeah.
that just shows you right there, those early experiences, you can totally see how they shaped
Yeah.
his whole entrepreneurial drive. Like he learned
Ridiculous.
to hustle, he learned to adapt and spot opportunities.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense that he would go on to dive into the world of e-commerce,
Right?
Forex, even crypto.
Yeah. And he has this incredible self-belief.
Yeah.
Like there's this quote from the interview that really stuck with me.
Okay.
He said, you become what you think about yourself.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, that's such a testament to the importance of vision.
It really is. And I think it's that vision that led him to explore this whole idea of international arbitrage,
So,
which is basically capitalizing on the fact that things like, cryptocurrency, they have different prices
right.
in different markets around the world.
Yeah.
And he figured out how to use that to his advantage and claims to have made
Wow.
six-figure profits within 5 months.
That's insane. But here's where things get a little bit tricky. So despite having a clean audit,
Uh-huh.
seemingly doing everything by the book,
Yeah.
Nabeel had his accounts frozen.
Whoa.
Like, that just seems really unfair.
It does, yeah, especially for someone who's been so transparent about his methods.
Right.
Like he's not trying to hide anything.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is Nabeel believes that this whole thing is a direct result of his success.
Oh, interesting.
Like, he thinks he's being punished for challenging traditional financial models.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Because his strategy is really heavily reliant on cryptocurrency,
Right.
which, of course, operates outside the control of central banks,
Uh-huh.
governments, and that kind of decentralized system.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could be seen as a threat.
Absolutely to those in power, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're used to controlling the money,
Right.
this is a whole new ballgame.
And it's almost like he's become this target,
Yeah.
for daring to disrupt the establishment.
This is a fascinating perspective.
It is, and he's really framing this as a
Yeah.
way of empowering individuals.
Right.
Giving them more control over their own finances,
Mm-hmm.
which, of course, could potentially,
Yeah.
diminish the control that these big institutions have.
And that's a big claim, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is something we definitely need to dig into a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But it does make you think,
Yeah.
is this a case of someone being penalized for being
Right.
too innovative, for
Yeah.
finding ways to work outside the box?
Right. And what's so interesting is he's not just complaining about it.
Right.
He's actually trying to educate people.
Okay. Yeah.
He's laid out this whole 5-point framework
Uh-huh.
for understanding finance
Okay.
that he believes can empower anyone
Wow.
to take control of their own money, their own well-being.
That's pretty amazing. And what are some of those points?
Well, he really wants people to understand, like, the fundamentals
Okay.
of supply and demand,
Yeah.
how banks actually function,
Yeah.
the whole ins and outs of these fiat currencies,
Right.
and how they can be manipulated.
I mean, that's so important, right?
Right,
Like
so absolutely.
giving people the tools
Yeah.
to make informed decisions about their money.
Yeah, it's almost like he's saying, look, the system might be rigged,
Right.
but here's how you can navigate it
Yeah.
and even potentially thrive outside of it.
I love that. And that's what makes his story so compelling,
Yeah.
He's not just sitting there complaining about the problem.
Right.
He's actually offering solutions
Yeah.
and empowering others to take control of their financial future.
So to kind of recap, we've got this incredibly driven young entrepreneur
Yeah.
who's found this way to make serious profits
Mm-hmm.
using this system that's completely outside
Yeah.
the traditional framework.
Yep.
And then, boom, just as he's hitting his stride,
Right.
his accounts are frozen.
It's a crazy story.
So where do we go from here?
Well, the interview goes on to explore, kind of the fallout of all of this. Nabil's determination to fight back
Right.
and his commitment to sharing his knowledge with the world despite all of these challenges.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that,
Okay.
I just want to take a minute to kind of reflect on what we've learned so far.
Yeah, sure.
What really stands out to you about Nabeel's story?
I mean, his resilience is just incredible.
Yeah.
Faced with this massive setback,
Yeah.
he's not backing down.
No.
He's using this experience to raise awareness,
Yeah.
push for more transparency in the system.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring.
I totally agree. He's not letting this define him.
Yeah.
He's using it as fuel
Uh-huh.
to drive his mission forward.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that even when things get tough,
Right.
you can choose how you respond
Absolutely.
and use challenges as opportunities for growth and change.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, he's certainly not letting this whole thing dampen his entrepreneurial spirit.
No.
If anything, he seems more determined than ever
Yeah, I think so too.
to make his vision a reality.
For sure. It's a really a good point, this situation with Nabeel. It really highlights that potential clash between this idea of decentralized finance and these traditional power structures.
Yeah.
It's almost like he found a way to play the game so well that the people who are used to making the rules are getting a little nervous.
Yeah, and that's what makes this whole thing so interesting, right? He's claiming to have been totally transparent.
Right.
He welcomed an audit, but still his accounts have been frozen for 9 months.
That's a long time.
It is, and it
It
just
is.
makes you wonder, if there's no evidence of any wrongdoing,
Right.
why the continued scrutiny?
Yeah, that's where Nabeel's frustration comes in, I think.
Yeah.
He feels like he's being targeted, punished for actually succeeding outside of the traditional system.
Yeah.
And his argument is that his methods, which empower individuals to control their own assets through cryptocurrency,
Right.
that could really disrupt the whole power dynamic of the financial world. And that's a threat to institutions that are used to calling the shots.
Yeah, it's like he's saying the authorities aren't used to a system where they can't just easily track and control where the money's going.
Exactly. And cryptocurrency, it operates on this decentralized ledger,
Right.
which makes it so much harder for governments to impose the same kind of oversight that they have with banks.
Right. Yeah, and that's a huge challenge to the status quo.
Huge. Huge.
Nabeel's story, it brings up all these questions about the role of government regulation in this, rapidly changing financial landscape.
It does.
Like, is it really about protecting consumers,
right.
or is it more about maintaining control?
And Nabeel, he's not shying away from those questions at all.
No.
He's openly challenging the authorities,
Yeah.
demanding to know why his accounts are still frozen.
Right.
He wants transparency, and he's not afraid to call out what he sees as an attempt to basically stifle innovation
Yeah.
and individual empowerment.
And that's a pretty bold stance to take.
It is, and it could have some far-reaching implications.
Yeah.
I mean, if Nabeel is successful in this fight for transparency,
Right.
it could really set a precedent for how decentralized finance is treated by regulators.
Absolutely. It's like a fascinating case study
Yeah,
in this tension between innovation and regulation.
totally.
You've got this incredible potential for individual empowerment, financial freedom
Right.
through technologies like cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But then you also have these legitimate concerns about potential misuse.
Yeah.
The need for some level of oversight.
You got to prevent fraud, criminal
Yeah.
activity.
There's a delicate balance for sure.
Definitely a delicate balance, and one that we're going to have to figure out as decentralized finance continues to grow.
Yeah.
I think Nabeel's experience is a really good reminder that progress, it often comes with pushback,
Yeah.
especially when it's challenging the way things have always been done.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive into Nabeel's 5-point framework for financial understanding a little bit, because he sees this as like a roadmap to individual empowerment, a way to give people the knowledge they need to navigate the financial world no matter what the system looks like.
I love that.
So what are some of the key takeaways here?
Well, the first thing he emphasizes is understanding supply and demand.
Okay.
And that's really the backbone of any market,
Right.
whether it's for goods and services
Yeah.
or even cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Nabeel says once you get how supply and demand impact prices,
Mm-hmm.
you can start making smarter decisions
Yeah.
about buying and selling.
Yeah, it's all about becoming like a more savvy participant in the market
Right.
and not just following trends or blindly trusting some expert.
Exactly. The second point he makes is about understanding how banks function.
Okay.
And he argues that people need to be aware of how banks create money,
Right.
how they lend it out,
Yeah.
how they profit from interest rates.
Yeah.
And he believes that understanding those mechanics can help individuals make better choices about where they keep their money
Yeah.
and how they manage debt.
It's about taking back some of that power.
Exactly. It's about demystifying the system,
Yeah.
empowering people to be in control of their financial relationships.
Right. And realizing that banks, they're businesses.
Yeah.
You know, their goal is to make money,
Right.
not necessarily to look out for their customers.
Exactly. Okay, so the third point Nabeel focuses on is fiat currencies.
Okay.
And he explains that these are essentially government-issued currencies
Mm-hmm.
that are not backed by anything physical like gold or silver.
Right.
Their value is based on trust and confidence in the government that issues it.
And this is where things get a little tricky.
A little bit tricky.
Because Nabeel argues that because these fiat currencies aren't tied to any tangible asset,
Yeah.
they can be manipulated by governments and central banks.
Okay. And he believes that understanding how these currencies work
Right?
and the potential for inflation, it's crucial for protecting your purchasing power over time.
Right. Yeah. And it's about recognizing the risks that come with having this centralized control over money
Right.
and looking at alternative systems.
Exactly. And this ties back to his support for cryptocurrency as a decentralized alternative.
Okay, so his fourth point is about inflation,
Okay.
how it eats away at the value of your money over time.
Right. Because the more money there is,
Yeah.
the less each unit is worth.
Yeah, you need more money to buy the same stuff.
Exactly. And he wants people to understand how inflation works
Uh-huh.
so they can protect their wealth from it.
And then his final point brings it all together.
Okay.
Continuous learning and adaptation.
Yeah.
He's always saying that the financial world is constantly changing, right?
You got to be learning, experimenting, refining your strategies.
He's encouraging people to be proactive,
Yeah.
take control of their financial education.
Right. Don't just rely on experts or financial advisors.
Right.
Do your own research,
Right.
experiment, find what works for you.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful message.
It is.
This idea of self-reliance.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where financial systems can feel so confusing and complex.
Right.
So Nabeel's story shows that with the right knowledge and the right mindset, individuals can navigate these systems and maybe even thrive outside of them.
Absolutely. So we've talked about Nabeel's challenges,
Yeah.
his vision for a decentralized financial future,
Uh-huh.
and this 5-point framework.
Right.
But there's another layer to his story that I think is super inspiring.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this.
Despite everything he's going through,
Yeah.
he's not giving up on helping others.
Yeah, he's still actively mentoring people,
It's amazing.
sharing his knowledge about trading and financial markets,
Yeah,
even while he's dealing with all these legal challenges.
that's incredible.
You know, he's committed to helping other people achieve financial freedom.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable.
And I think that really speaks to his character
Right.
and his belief in the power of knowledge. He could easily just retreat, focus on his own battles,
Yeah.
but he's choosing to empower others,
Yeah.
like turning this whole setback into something positive.
It shows you how authentic he is.
Yeah.
Like his actions really match his message of empowerment and disruption.
Right. It's like he's saying, you might try to silence me,
Yeah.
but you can't stop knowledge from spreading.
Right.
You can't stop this movement towards a decentralized future.
And his mentorship is almost like an act of defiance.
It is.
You know, a way to bypass those traditional gatekeepers of financial knowledge.
Absolutely.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We talked about Nabeel's early days as an entrepreneur, his ventures into cryptocurrency, international arbitrage,
Right.
the challenges he's facing with his accounts being frozen,
Yeah.
his commitment to financial education,
Yeah.
mentorship.
It's a great story.
So what are some of the big takeaways for our listeners?
I think the most important thing is just the power of vision and believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Nabeel knew what he wanted,
Yeah.
and he went after it,
Yeah.
even when things got tough.
Absolutely.
And it's a reminder that we all have that potential
Yeah.
to create our own paths and achieve amazing things.
If we're willing to work for it.
As long as we have the courage to dream big.
Yeah. And to keep going when things get tough.
Absolutely.
And his story also shows the importance of challenging the status quo.
Right. Like he wasn't content to just play by the rules of a system he felt was rigged.
Yeah.
He wanted to create something better,
Yeah.
a more equitable financial landscape. And he wasn't afraid to push the boundaries.
And it reminds us that progress often comes from those who are willing to question the way things are
Yeah.
and imagine something different.
And of course, we can't forget about financial literacy.
Yeah,
Nabeel's 5-point framework is so valuable
absolutely.
for anyone who wants to take control of their money.
Yeah, it's about giving people the tools to understand how the financial world works
Right.
so they can make smart decisions.
It's all about empowerment.
Exactly. And he's such a strong advocate for self-reliance and in continuous learning.
It is.
He wants people to be curious, to seek out knowledge.
To keep learning and adapting.
Yeah, in a world that's changing so fast, that mindset is essential.
Couldn't agree more.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Nabeel Hussain's journey,
Yeah,
I think we're left with this feeling of hope and possibility.
I agree.
His story shows us that even when we face huge challenges,
Uh-huh.
we can still make a difference, disrupt systems, and create a better future.
Yeah,
He challenges us to question our assumptions,
absolutely.
to embrace innovation, and to never stop learning and growing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been great exploring this with you.
Yeah, it really has.
Nabeel's story is such a testament to human ingenuity
It is.
and the potential for positive change, even in systems that can feel really complex and opaque.
Absolutely.